So let's talk about which way the market is headed and whether or not the broader market move is here to stay. Let's bring on board then Porinju Veliyath, MD and Portfolio Manager at Equity Intelligence India. Porinju, morning. Great to have you on the show. Stark underperformance all of 2018. Finally, the broader markets, Porinju, have made a comeback. Does it look like it's sustainable? Is it here to stay?
Good morning, Aisha. Very true. The broad market has started, looking up. And we had discussed last time, money cannot go on chasing the large caps forever. The valuation gap has been really unsustainable. So it was due. I think most people were really aware about it. And I feel now 2 weeks it has really happened. It has just begun to rally. And we have a long, long way to go. I, in fact, see a multi-year bull market. We are just started in India. When I say multi-year bull market, doesn't mean that markets will go up like the earlier 5 years, the big rally, especially in the small and mid caps. Even if the investors can make a 15% CAGR, which is our history in the Sensex and Nifty, a 15% CAGR for next 5 years is something we call it a bull market. And this is inevitable because India continue to grow. So, and India is growing today in a low inflation environment. I think it's very simple. Anybody can very easily guess the future direction of Indian markets from now.
Porinju, would you say that the optimism somewhere is also stemming from the fact that a large part of the market is pricing in what the election verdict is going to be, and most bets are on the current regime returning back?
Aisha, even without the current regime returning back, of course, I strongly personally believe the current regime will continue. Modi will be our prime minister for next 5 years. This is my personal belief and conviction. And it is required for India, if you see, from a political economy point of view. But as you now are talking about the optimism, we don't need a lot of optimism, extra optimism for the markets to rally from here. What we need is, to come out of that irrational, too much pessimism. And that is clearly has started. So without any extraordinary optimism, our Nifty can rally something like 2,000 points, whereas hundreds of mid and small caps can go up by 100% in the next 1 year, 1.5 years from here. So that is the environment our Indian market is placed right now. If you see the 2009 March, I see a lot of similarities today in 2000, after 10 years in the 2019 March, where the inflection point of the market. And so it is definitely going to be a fantastic time ahead if the current regime and its economic policies with the long-term vision of the economy of the country, if that continues, I'm telling you, we are heading for a 10-year big bull market.
All right, you're sounding very optimistic, and also we have a flood of queries coming in, Porinju, which we will be asking you from our viewers. We're using the hashtag #AskPorinju. But I'd like to ask you a question because, you had spoken about this approach of a bottom-up approach and how that would be fairly suitable for 2019, given the fact that instead of focusing on individual segments or stocks, there is acute volatility. So a bottom-up approach would be the most preferable. Are you sticking to that stance?
Yeah, definitely. This bottom-up approach is applicable anytime in the market, in the history or, the coming times. But now, for the next 2-3 years, after the big meltdown in the small and mid caps in general, when the meltdown happened, it was not considering any segment. Everything was falling. If you see the last 1 year, in the 2018, the way markets were falling in the mid and small caps. When I say mid and small caps, I'm talking about the way 90% of listed companies fell. So maybe 1 week, the housing finance companies were falling, that also one by one. And, there were different kind of companies, different segments were continued. So that was a bear market, but a short bear market. We had almost 13 months of bear market, but without affecting the Nifty and Sensex. See, historically, if you see, I'm not a technical analyst, but I just was told, 12, 13 months is something, a broad market, bear market sustains. So we have completed that normal historic average of 13 months bear market. So that also is adding to the optimism of bull market ahead.
All right.
So bottom-up approach is the right way to approach the market now, because we have so many varieties of segments and industries in India, and in the broad market meltdown, good ones, bad ones, the kachra ones, everything has fallen. So there are a lot of great, wonderful small and mid-cap companies in India, which can give you, say, 100% return, some of them in the next 1 year, because they were beaten down like that. And even after the 100% return from here, they may be below their last year high. So that is the most interesting aspect. So don't think that when I say hundreds of Indian small and mid caps can give you 100% return, it's not very huge. It is only a reversal of that deep correction, and these companies are growing at 15-20%. They will continue to grow for next 5 and 10 years, looking at the demographic and consumption pattern, the factors in India. So it's not. I think that extreme pessimism. Last time we talked about the point of maximum pessimism. So that's behind us. Now we are heading with a normal mind. We don't want an optimistic mind, a normal, a rational approach. And you see, FIAs, the way FIAs have been buying in the last 2 weeks, I think they have bought stocks worth around 25,000 crores net buying. This is huge. And this is after something 50-60,000 crores of selling last year. So I expect a minimum of 1 lakh crores of FIA buying this 2019. That's very much possible. They have been ignoring Indian markets for a while. And ultimately, many investment gurus globally, very people with track record, they have been talking about India and China story, the emerging market story, out of which India, if our reforms and the political initiatives to manage the economy continues, I'm telling you, nobody can stop. Nobody can even think of a bear market in India further.
Great to hear the optimism come back in your voice, Porinju. But, just on that point that you were making about the broader market recovery, does it seem like it's going to be broad-based this time around, or would it be more selective? Will the kachra be differentiated from the quality?
Yeah, very, very good question. See, unlike earlier also we have had companies, starting my time in stock market when it started in early 90s. I remember Orke was one of the most fancied stocks, perhaps more fancied than Reliance Industries in the market. And it went to zero. So we used to have such companies very rarely in India. But now a season has started. We'll have hundreds of companies, maybe listed companies, will go, it will create permanent capital loss. This is something investors have to be extremely careful. It is not only because of the disruptive world outside. It is also because of the corporate governance thing, wherein I am also victim in a couple of companies. See, the government is doing things, taking action against corruption, black money, and trying to create more of formal economy. In the process, a lot of dirt already accumulated in the past decade, they are coming out. So that also can create permanent loss of capital in many companies. It's happening already. So even if you take next 2-3 years, this will be much, much more than the history, where the number of companies going out of relevance, and they can create permanent loss of capital.
All right, that's the view coming in, but we promised our viewers that we would take on their questions to you directly. So let's play messenger and get straight to it. And to all of our viewers, we'll try and take as many questions. Do keep them coming. Well, Harsh has tweeted to us on the hashtag #AskPorinju, and he asks, is Equity Intelligence still buying Kaya after holding more than 15%? So what's the take on Kaya?
We have a large holding in Kaya. And it's a very long-term buy we have done. We are betting for next 2, 3, 5 years time. And so we have been buying the stock. So whether we will buy from tomorrow, I can't talk about it. So otherwise, I like the promoters, the concept. It's a very tough business to do. And, it's one of our largest holding in PMS. We'll continue to hold the stock.
Right. Some other questions, Porinju, and take your pick amongst them. They all want to know your views on Hotel Leela, LNT Finance Holding, Z Media, Viatech Vabag, any of these stories or stocks that you track?
Z Media is one stock we have a holding. Actually, the stock used to be 30-35 rupees, and just because the promoters had a problem, the stock came down to 11 rupees. That's the kind of volatility Indian market is going through, especially in the small and mid caps. It was absolute irrational because this is a professionally managed company, perhaps, and it's not really the promoter personally not managing this company, and they have recently recorded the highest ever quarterly profits in the history of the company. And that was the time the stock price came to lowest ever in the history. So this kind of things happening in the market, it's really funny. We like the stock at the current valuation. We continue to hold.
Okay. What about the view then on Leel Electricals as well, Porinju?
Leel, we believe, of course, the Punj surname is very much well known, for the corporate governance issues. And so we were betting on Leel in a big way because, they were selling the consumer division. They sold it to Havels and received something like 1,500 crores. Today, the market cap of the company is 70, 80, maybe below 100 crores. So you can imagine how much money is stolen by the promoters from the company, legally, illegally, disclosing, without disclosing. It's something amazing. This kind of chori is still going on. It's rampant among the listed companies in India. It is very unfortunate. But I feel in the future, if you see next after 1-2 years, this kind of fresh chori will be difficult. I expect government to create better laws, rules. Now you see the regulators, BSE, NSE, they cannot control. If a company decides to siphon out 1,000 crores, from the minority shareholders, there is no law that SEBI or BSE, NSE, they cannot stop. There is no law that you cannot siphon out money. What our regulators or stock exchange is telling, you should steal money after disclosing it. So nobody's telling that you should not steal it. That's the problem. It's a legal problem. I'm not blaming anybody in that. So this is happening in hundreds of Indian companies. It's very unfortunate. This is the biggest challenge when you pick bargains or hunt for values in the mid and small caps. And the investor had to live with that. But I strongly hope in the future, these kind of activities will be highly discouraged with the regulations and rules.
Yes, indeed. And a lot of investors have their fingers burnt, with this bargain hunting and some of these small cap, mid cap stocks as well. We're getting questions as well from Kashish as well coming in on GVK Power. They're asking, is that still a good story? What's the call?
GVK Power?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's see a lot of infrastructure companies with leverage. There are a lot of gray areas newly created in the last 1 year. The delays in the debt resolutions, the bank's attitude changed since last 1 year. So there is a lot of there are many gray areas and black spots, and there is lack of clarity. We have been basically betting on the airport business, the vertical of GVK. And that is still there, very valuable. But other side, there are liabilities, and there are delays than what we expected at that point of time of investing. So if the debt resolution happens, company become debt free and go normal with a stake in Mumbai airport and more airports, it can be a wealth creator. But there are ifs and buts. So I have no comments for the fresh investors about it.
I recall about a year and a half when we were chatting when this entire mid-cap meltdown hadn't played out. And you were pretty gung-ho on chore companies, either taken to the NCLT or where you believed that, there would be a buyout, those old management or chore managements will be out. And you were convinced about the business and the strength of the business. Any other such companies that you're spotting in the current scenario, in the current regime?
Now, see, chore managements are going out, but they are going out with looting all the money. Now, I had just heard the Porinju has resigned from Leel Electricals. That is also possible. You can take out all the money. You can resign from as the promoter or the MD and go abroad and live comfortably. So that kind of legal framework India is still following. It will take time to change because we have been following it for last many decades. And I appreciate the current government is doing a lot of things to discourage such kind of activities, but it is not very easy. It's a time taken. Because it's a mindset has to change. The culture has to change. So that the reason I am supporting the present government is this particular thing, Aisha, what you asked me. We need to change. So government is attempting to do things, to clamp down on corruption. And there are a lot of even legal problems. Judiciary also is, we have designed a judiciary in the last many decades. It has been evolving. But, we have so many problems. So sometimes I used to feel, looking at the way the Kandahar incident and the terrorist was released. So I used to, sometimes I tweeted once, I even love the fake encounters, because that's the only way, because our legal system is so bad sometimes, we catch a terrorist, you cannot kill him. You have to keep him in the jail, then wait for Pakistan come and take our one of aircrafts to Karachi. Then only we can release him. So that's a kind of complication in Indian judiciary, and it's high time that we reset our judiciary also. Now the current government has pressed the reset button on the political economy. So whatever we are seeing, this up downs and volatility, one reason is that pressing of political economy, that button. And, it is going to create, this is done with historic reforms. And we will have some short-term pain when this is done for the long-term gain. So I'm very optimistic about the future of Indian economy.
Right.
And many of these reforms, like GST and IBC and all, they are irreversible. So even if another government happen to be taking control, I think these things will continue, though it may be at a lower pace. So I think it's a very optimistic environment Indian investors, equity investors are going through for the next at least couple of years.
Good to hear that. Porinju, thanks so much for taking the time out, and we'll chat again soon. Hopefully this mid-cap rally is going to continue and we'll have lots of ideas and stocks to talk about with you. Good to speak with you as always.
Thank you.